It's time. It's time to finally take a look at the most hyped up gaming laptop that you guys have been requesting us to take a look at. That's none other than the Acer Predator Helios 300. You see, everyone's been talking about this laptop. Every time we post a notebook review, when I scroll through the comments, Helios 300, Helios 300, you guys should definitely check it out. It's finally here, and what's even cool is that I can now compare it to some or about similarly priced notebooks and kind of check out what the performance is like and how well it actually cools the hardware. Now, speaking of hardware, that's one of the main selling factors of the Helios 300 because what are we talking about in terms of specs? Well, it's got an i7-9750H 6-core 12-thread processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM in dual channel mode, a 256 gigabyte NVMe SSD, a GTX 1660 Ti non-max-Q graphics card, and a 1080p IPS 144Hz display. All of which will cost you $1,200. That is a deal that's just an insane deal. In fact, you can actually pick it up for a little less on Amazon right now. I'll make sure to leave links in the description down below, just in case if you're interested in picking one up. So, is the Predator Helios 300 the best bang for the buck gaming laptop that you can buy right now? Let's find out, but first, a quick message from our sponsor.
The new Cooler Master Master Mouse 710. Weird name, but damn this thing is good. With an ultra lightweight body at only 53 grams for excellent flick control and aim correction, the ultra weave cable is awesome for wireless-like feel, the ambidextrous shape for me personally is super comfortable, and I like the shorter body, plus the glide is smooth thanks to white PTFE feet. Enjoy the domination with an excellent optical sensor, and despite the funky name, the Cooler Master MM710 is legit. Check it out below.
Alright, so first things first, the design. And there's nothing really special going on over here. At first glance, anyone would just classify this as a gaming laptop just because of the way how it looks. If you're looking for something a little bit more low profile and stealth, this just wouldn't fit that criteria because you've got the Predator logo at the front that's LED lit in teal, which is really cool and refreshing to see compared to the standard black and red color schemes that we're seeing on a lot of notebooks these days. Honestly, I feel like red and black is just too overrated at this point. You've also got a few other teal accents throughout the body, including the trackpad. The WASD and arrow keys have a bit of teal accent as well, so does the backlighting. It's nice and consistent. I think Dave Tootie will certainly approve. The chassis is mostly made out of hard plastic materials, but it's put together really well. There's barely any flex on the keyboard and the screen, which is really good. The hinge is nice and sturdy. There's no wobble whatsoever. Seriously, this laptop for the price, it just blew me away. I mean, it does better than some really expensive laptops out there, you know? Gigabyte, looking at you right now. The webcam is located exactly where I need it to be. I mean, while this notebook doesn't have the slimmest bezels compared to the competition, I actually don't mind having a little bit of bezel even at the top and the bottom because it just from a functionality standpoint, it does the job really well. Opening up the notebook, you're greeted with a full-size keyboard and the keys are excellent. They don't feel mushy, but rather they sport a good amount of travel distance. Honestly, this is one of the best out there, even up against the Legion laptops from Lenovo. The trackpad isn't the best that I've tried so far. It's partly because it is a plastic surface and not a glass trackpad that you'd find in a lot more expensive premium gaming laptops. However, the good thing is that they do eventually smoothen out with the help of your finger grease, which is a little bit gross, but it works out eventually. And they do support Windows precision drivers, so Windows gestures work flawlessly on the Helios 300. The speakers are, well, as we expected, located at the bottom, which means do not expect the best sound quality coming out of this laptop. There's just no bass and there's just no body to the sound when you're listening to music or watching videos. So I'd highly recommend pairing it with a good set of headphones for a good, comfortable content consuming experience. Port selection is really good. So on the left-hand side, you have Kensington lock, power in, RJ45, two USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports. That's right, Gen 2, so you can take advantage of the 10 gigabits per second protocol. You also get a headphone/mic jack. Switching over to the right, there's an HDMI port, mini display port, an extra USB 3.1 Type A and Type C ports. Unfortunately, Type C is in Thunderbolt 3. Moving on to the display, it's a 1080p 144Hz IPS panel. And honestly, it was a fantastic experience gaming on it. I really enjoyed my time, and I think I've said this in the past. If you're looking for a gaming laptop in 2019, just go for a panel with a faster refresh rate. If it has IPS, that's even better because the colors and the contrast ratio was really good on this display. My only gripe is that it doesn't get bright outdoors, so outdoor view visibility is just a little bit challenging. And also on my sample, I noticed a little bit of clouding at the top when I did my black screen test. So if you're watching movies, especially with that crop during low light scenarios, that could be a little distracting. Upgradeability is very straightforward on the Helios 300, so you have instant access to the memory and storage. I'm actually really surprised by the storage expansion options you get with this laptop. So there's an empty M.2 slot that can be populated with an NVMe SSD, which is nice. The 256GB primary NVMe SSD is from Hynix, and it doesn't have the fastest read or write speeds, so keep that in mind. And on top of all of this expansion, Acer has implemented a 2.5-inch drive slot, and they do provide a hard drive installation kit within the box, so you can really load this notebook up with some high capacity drives. This laptop has a 50 watt battery, and unfortunately it's not the greatest, especially when compared to the Ryzen notebook from Asus that we checked out recently, the GA502DU, as well as the Lenovo Legion Y545. So if you're planning on lugging this thing around to school or whatnot, you're really not going to be impressed with the battery life. Honestly, this could have been addressed if Acer offered a different SKU where they didn't have that 2.5-inch hard drive bracket, but then equipped it with a larger battery, because honestly, 2 M.2 slots, that's good enough, and SSDs, especially NVMe SSDs, are getting cheaper as well, and you can pick them up for a really good deal. Moving on to performance, the Core i7-9750H performed extremely well. As you can see, compared to the similarly priced Zephyrus Ryzen notebook that I looked at a while back, the Helios just destroys it. Even comparing it to the Legion Y545 featuring the same i7 CPU, the Helios takes the edge by a little bit because its cooling solution and the ability to sustain those higher clock speeds is just remarkable, and I'll get to that in just a bit. Taking a look at our standard 13-minute Premiere Pro render test, we took a 4K video, exported it to the YouTube H.264 preset, and the system took 10 minutes and 43 seconds to complete that task, which is of course thanks to Intel QuickSync. So this is a fantastic option if you plan on creating content. And since this is a gaming laptop, it does that job really, really well. As you can see, you can comfortably play at 1080p set to the highest settings above 100 frames per second in most titles. And when you pair that with the 144Hz refresh rate display, this thing is an all-rounder. In terms of CPU clock speeds, during idle, I was easily able to notice clock speeds above 4 GHz, and during load, during my render test, the CPU was comfortably able to sustain those speeds around 4 GHz, but what really surprised me were those temperatures. You see, it does peak a bit over 90, but on average, it was around 76 to 77 degrees Celsius. But with the help of this magical button called Turbo, which I accidentally mistaken as the power button, it dramatically reduces those temperatures. But the catch is, as I'm going to show it to you live right now, I'm going to hit that turbo button right over there, and yep. Can you even hear me? Let's just turn it off. So through that live demonstration, you probably just heard how loud the fans get when you enable turbo mode, which does do the trick. It does bring those temperatures down, but realistically, you don't have to enable it because the laptop does a really good job cooling the CPU in the first place, unless if you decide to run, I don't know, Prime 95 for like 24 hours, but I mean, come on, that's just not realistic. Now, fan noise in general by itself is really good. Even during load situations, it doesn't get extremely loud, especially compared to those thin and light gaming laptops that we're seeing lately. The GTX 1660 Ti ran really cool as well. As I was monitoring temps, I only noticed it peak at 72C, which is really amazing, and the clock speeds were between 1680 and 1710 megahertz. So to conclude, I am really impressed with the Predator Helios 300, but that was really not a surprise because I was expecting that, considering that this laptop has been and currently is really popular among a lot of gamers. You see, for $1,200, this is the best bang for the buck gaming laptop that you can buy right now because the performance is amazing. You can do all sorts of stuff with it, not just gaming, but if you want to create content on it or if you want to do a little bit of streaming on it. The hardware by itself is a fantastic combo because the 1660 Ti is a non-max SKU variant, so that means you're gonna get the best gaming performance at 1080p. The Core i7-9250H is a great CPU for editing videos and photos. So if you want to get a little bit creative as well, this is a great option. Not to mention, it actually cools the hardware really well compared to the Legion Wi-Fi 45 from Lenovo that's priced a little bit more compared to the Helios 300, but it features the same specs. So that's a bonus. And the storage expansion options are also fantastic on the Helios 300. But that being said, I know that some of you may not be really into the way how this laptop looks. Perhaps you guys would have preferred a more stealth, low profile looking laptop. And I hope Acer would bring up something like that in the future. The trackpad isn't the greatest, as well as the speakers. They don't sound that great. And the battery life is pretty terrible. So I would highly recommend lugging around your AC adapter, which isn't that heavy at all. So that is a little bit of a downside. And I do want to mention this really quickly. The Killer 1500 Wi-Fi card that's on this notebook is technically from Intel. It's just running Killer software. I did experience a few drop downs a couple of times, and then after a restart, everything seems to be working just fine. So I thought that that was worth bringing up. But if you're willing to dodge those bullets, the Predator Helios 300 from Acer is the best gaming laptop that money can buy right now. In fact, I want to know your thoughts about this laptop. Do you think there are any other alternatives that might give this notebook a run for its money? Now, $1,200 is still pretty expensive. Perhaps there is a sub $1,000 notebook that you might want us to check out. Definitely let us know in the comments down below. I will keep an eye out for this laptop for Black Friday or special sales events because it does sell it really fast. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out some relevant content over here. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on a new video that we publish. I'm Ebro with Hardware Canucks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.